Okay, so let's talk about AWS Organizations, which is a way for you to manage multiple AWS accounts at once. So within organizations, we have at the top the root organizational unit, or OU, and it will contain our management account, which is the account that will be used for all administration purposes. Then within the root OU, you can have different OUs. You can have an OU for your development environment, and this OU can have multiple member accounts. So you have to make a distinction between the management account that used to manage all the other accounts and organizations, and then the member accounts, which are just normal AWS accounts that are part of an organization. So we can have an OU for dev, we can have an OU for prod as well with other member accounts, and we can have OU within OU. So it's very possible to have an HR OU within the prod OU, which is, by the way, within the root OU. So we can have HR or finance and so on. So once we have all these accounts, how does organizations perform its administration? Well, there is a very special role you need to know about for the exam called the organization account access role. So when we have the organization and the management accounts, if we happen to create a member account using an API from the organization service, then automatically an IAM role within that member account is going to be created. And that IAM role is called the organization account access role. Now, the management account, when it needs to perform administrative duties onto the member account, will assume that administrative role using the Assume API. So this IAM role grants full administrator permissions in the member account to the management account, and this is the magic of how AWS organizations work. Now, this role is going to be used by the management account to perform admin tasks in the member account, for example, creating IAM users. This role can also be assumed by IAM users in the management accounts if they're authorized to do so. And as I said, this role is automatically added to new member accounts created with the API of AWS Organizations. But in case you are inviting an account into an organization and that account already exists from out there, then you must manually create this role, otherwise things will not work. Now, we have an OU and multiple accounts. So we have multiple account strategy. And you can create accounts per department, per cost center, per environment, for example, dev, test, prod. You can create them based on regulatory restrictions. You can get them for better resource isolation. For example, you want to have one account per VPC, or you want to have separate per account service limits, or you want to have a separate account for logging, and so on. So you have, different strategies to look at. For example, do you want multi-accounts or one account with a multi-VPC in it? And then, of course, you're going to have multiple accounts, so you need to have tagging standards for billing purposes, as we'll see this. And then some things we may want to do is to enable CloudTrail on all accounts, and then send all the logs of CloudTrail into a central account that will have an Amazon S3 bucket, or also maybe aggregate all the CloudWatch logs within all accounts into a central logging account, or maybe create a central account for security. So these are just strategies. There's really no guideline. It's up to you and your architecture to decide what you want to do. So you have a business unit type of OU. So we have management accounts, then a OU per business unit, and then maybe multiple accounts within each business unit. You can also get, for example, a management account and then dev, test, prod types of OUs. And then you can also get project-based type of OUs. It's really up to you to decide, but this just gives you a few ideas. So there are two feature modes you need to know for AWS organization. The first one is a consolidated billing feature. So this is going to aggregate billing across all accounts and give you a single payment method directly from the management accounts. And the reason you do so is that you're going to get pricing benefits from the aggregated usage. You're going to get volume discounts for EC2, for Amazon S3, and so on, because you are using more across all accounts. All the features are also going to be another feature mode for organizations. So this, of course, includes the consolidated billing feature, but on top of it, it adds the SCP feature that we'll see in the next lecture. And in case you invite an account, it needs to approve enabling all features to be part of that mode. And then once you have the all features enabled, then we can use an SCP, so a service control policy, to prevent the member accounts from ever leaving the organization. And this is why the accounts that have been invited into an organization with all features must approve these features beforehand. And once you have enabled all features, you cannot go back to using organizations only to consolidate billing. Okay, so talking about what is shared and savings, we have reserved instances in organizations. So for billing purposes, the consolidated billing feature of AWS Organizations will treat all the accounts as one account that we know. That means that all the accounts in the organization will receive the hourly cost benefit of a reserved instance that is purchased by any other account. So that means that it will give you the maximum amount of a saving, even if a specific account is not using that reserved instance, but another is. So the payer account of an organization, so the management account, can turn off the RI, reserve instance sharing, or savings plan discount sharing for any accounts, including VPR accounts. So it's possible for you to disable it and say, well, this RI or this savings plan only belongs to that specific account. That means that in that case, then the reserve instances and savings plan discounts will not be shared across accounts that have this turned off. And then on the opposite side, for a reserved instance or a savings plan to be shared across two accounts, then both these accounts must have sharing turned on, okay? So this is a little thing that the exam can test you on. You need to also know the process to move accounts between organizations. So if we have one AWS organization and another one, and we want to migrate a member account from one to the other, the first step is to remove the member account from the AWS organization so that it's standalone. Then we can send an invite to the member account from the new AWS organization. And then finally, we can accept the invite from the member account so that the member account joins the organization. So that's it for this lecture. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next lecture.